This is so fucked up. Big old divergences. Wow. Big old divergences. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Let me get in the essentials room. Good morning, essentials room. Can you hear me okay? Cool. Just to let you know, the way I'm looking at the markets, number one, this is going to be more markets outlook. I'll try to show some other stuff too, some tips and tricks for you, and we're going to go from there. So the first thing I want to show you, though, because this has worked so well and so many doubted it, it's really nice when everybody doubts it and it works. And that has to do with the commitment of traders with gold. So you see how ugly that chart at gold after the Fed is. So, and this is why in the Chart Patterns Master, I said, do not trust that breakout. You don't have to short it, but I wouldn't chase it. And that's because the commercials, the green line, the commercials are short, real short, minus almost 250. So that's as of last Friday at 3:30. I'll show you how to sign up for it. You can get it in your email. So just keep that in mind. That's number one. So definitely watch little tips and tricks. You'll see most of the time when they get less than 150, it doesn't mean you're going up. It just means your bullish patterns are more likely to work. That's all it means. Your bullish patterns are more likely to work. And that's why when they're that negative, the bullish patterns are less likely to have follow through. So I want to show you that. Second thing I wanted to show you in here, though, and I'm going to add this back to my stock market research, is I wanted to show you how to sign up for it. A lot of people asked, and it's a great question, and let me show you. So the first thing you do is you go to cftc.com or .gov, actually. So you go into cftc.gov. Then what you do is you go into here, commitment of traders. See that drop down? There. And you want that. And then you want to go to subscribe to the Commitment of Traders report, put in your email. It comes to you at about 3:35 every day, every Friday. So let me show you. So let me go and post this in the YouTube room also. So a lot of what we do is combining charts with other tells, and some of this is from experience. So there's that. So you go back to it, and all you do in here is you go down to metals, and you go to long format. And what you're going to see in here is gold on the commodity exchange. Now, this is on FinViz, but I'm not sure what day it updates. This, you're getting it right when it comes out. And all you do in here, reportable positions. And you look at long and short. That's all you do, not manage money. So just keep that in mind. You want commercials. So just keep that in mind. So just you want commercials. Where is it on here? I think I pressed the wrong button. Let me find it. Well, that's what you want. You want the commercials. So I'm not sure why it's not working like it did when we were on earlier. But usually it says in here commercials. So I don't know why it's messed up. Let me go to the short format. See that little short format? Let's see if this matters. Well, it's different than what it was earlier, but usually it shows the commercials. So just to let you know, it shows the commercials. When you go to it, it will show the commercials in there. And basically, they're about 255 short. So just keep that in mind. Approximately 255 short in there. It doesn't usually say manage money, usually says commercials. So just keep that in mind in there. And that's what we're watching in here. So that's number one. So you get that sent to you. Like I said, you combine that with charts. I just can't impress enough of how you have to combine it then with charts. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, for some reason, it's not working like it did earlier. So it says options and futures combined. You don't want that. You just want commercials. And unfortunately, like I said, it's their site isn't working the way it was earlier. So just keep that in mind. But you're combining that with charts. So if you see a bullish chart in that commitment to traders is only like 153, 155 negative, they're always short. But less short is what you care about. The less short. And that's what's important. So just keep that in mind. Number one. No. So right now, I'm going to wait for the next one to be emailed to me. It looks like this. There you go. You get that 3:35 on Friday. So that's what you want to see. You want to get that like 3:30 on Friday. And like I said, it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee that it's going to work, but it helps with probability. That's all you're doing is probability. So, I mean, that's all we're trying to do in here is find if a bull or bear flag is more likely to work. So, and it's been working. So just keep that in mind that it's been working in there and we're going to stay with it because it's worked for years. And like I said, it's if it's all about probability. So just keep that in mind, all about probability. And that to me is a big deal. Now, the next thing you might ask, well, how's it work with other products? Because you're going to see if you go to gold, it's worked for years. I found that it doesn't work in a lot of other things. It's too whippy in here. Just doesn't work that well. Doesn't work that well. Look at this. When the commercials got less long, it went up. That's why I don't use it for copper. So you might say, well, how about the VIX? It doesn't work for the VIX either. So it doesn't work in the indexes. It just seems to work in gold. So just keep that in mind. Now you might ask, well, how about crypto? Well, crypto doesn't show it. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't show in the cryptos. But that's the next thing I wanted to show you, Bitcoin. So this was another extremely controversial thing that I was talking about. Bitcoin might go up and the producers go down. And so far it's worked. But I'm bullish on Bitcoin later. So next month they have a thing called halving. And I'll show you what it is. I'll give you a link. And get it up here. I go to this. You can go to Coinbase. And let me send that to you. Here you go. Yeah, I'm trying to do just the futures. I don't know, Noah, why it's not working. So I don't know why the link isn't doing what it was doing before. So typical of it doesn't work right when you want to show it. Now that Coinbase, what is that doing? Showing what's happening. And what you're going to see, it reduces the rate at which new Bitcoins are created by 50%. So guess what? Yeah, that means less supply. It means Bitcoin theoretically should go up. It'll lower the mining reward. So what's that mean? Miners better start producing a ton of Bitcoin or they're going to get less money. So, they keep saying that it'll reduce the amount of Bitcoins. It reduces the reward. So a lot of times that means they produce more Bitcoin, but in the long run, I've seen Bitcoin goes up. The producers go down at first. Just at first. They go down. And I'll show you. We'll go into historical precedents. You're going to see that the last time, let me see if I have it in here. The last time was in 2020. It was around the same time. So we're going to put in Bitcoin halving. You're going to see when the last time was. And I want to go to the rewind function. Here you go. So here it is, May 11th, 2020. Now, that's when it took place. That's not when it announced. There are all kinds of calculator people that add up when it is by adding up the amount of Bitcoins produced since the last one. But let's say May 11th. So what we're going to do is go to the rewind function on demand on Thinkorswim. So we're going to go into here. We're going to go to Bitcoin. And we're going to go into May 11th. That's when it actually was. You can go back and double check if you want. So we're going to go to on demand. And we're going to go to May 11th. And you don't have to do it May 11th. I'm doing October 2020. Now, the reason is when they announced that Bitcoin first went down. You'll see. So when they announced it back here, right there, right where I have the arrow is when it happened. So yeah, buying rumors, selling news, it went down somewhat. But look at that. It formed a triangle, bullish triangle. But when it got announced, it was in here. And that's when it got nailed. Like I said, it has a habit of getting nailed first. So just keep this in mind right now. And keep in mind that arrow right there. Right there. So you see that when it got announced, well, that was the high. Got announced in here. Then you see it exploded way over its February high. Now on the right, I'm going to show you. There weren't many that were open then, but let's see. There you go. MSTR back then. So, and we're going to go back and put a daily chart. So this is why it's interesting. So you had Bitcoin explode over its high. While you had MicroStrategy, guess what? It hardly reclaimed it. In fact, it took forever to reclaim it. So just keep that in mind in there on how that worked. See that rally right here? Right there. See that rally to new highs? MicroStrategy couldn't even get to the old highs. Not even close. Later it went up. Yeah, darn right, later it went up. So I thought I'd show you some of the other Bitcoin stocks and what they did. So I'm going to put it on the right. So we're going to have Bitcoin on the left. And like I said, you can make some good money on this. And what am I talking about? Well, today CLSK is down 10%. Yeah, these things seem to work. So there's CLSK on the right. What you're going to notice is when Bitcoin first rallied, this went down 30 to 50%. It just wouldn't move. Here's Bitcoin. See that rally? And look what CLSK did in that same time. Yeah, it did nothing. Now, when Bitcoin went up enough, this started going up. That's why I would expect Bitcoin to go up, these doing nothing, and Bitcoin going up so much it pulls them up. So look at that. Same thing. Back here, Bitcoin rallied, it would not go up. Bitcoin had to go up enough for them to go up. And so just keep that in mind in there. That's why when I watch a lot of these, I'm watching later, not at first. So at first, this rallied, like you see, and this didn't do much. And when I say didn't do much, they just underperform Bitcoin. So, and that's why if you go into now, you're going to see the real eye opener. I posted it back here. So I posted that when Bitcoin announced halving in here, yeah, you might be able to be long Bitcoin. As you see, it's done nothing, really done nothing for about a month. While this has gone down 50%. Yeah, that's why if I'm going to play Bitcoin to the downside, I'm playing the Mars of the world. Now, Mars come back like a champ. So I'm not in it now. I just want to let you know I'm not in MARA. So, but if I'm going to play something in Bitcoin for today, it's going to be the Coinbase. So, and that's the other thing I wanted to go over, and I hope you find this interesting. What names do I like over the next month? I'm not sure. There's a lot of divergences right now. 007, I'll tell you, if those commercials are only down 150 when we get them at 335 today, I'm telling you right now, then I'm going to look at the gold stocks. As the gold stocks have a habit of, they should be leading gold. Instead, they're lagging. So if those commitmented traders are only like minus 150, I'm going to look to buy the Newmonts of the world. I hope that answers your question. So, but that's the kind of stuff I like. So definitely like that kind of thing. Now, getting back to it about everything else. So the first thing about Bitcoin, if I'm going to play a Bitcoin, and as you see, it's coming back like a champ. It was down here. There's a couple of little I can't even say it, intonations with Bitcoin. If it closes on the low the night before, it has a habit of overshooting the next morning. It's amazing. It has, it overshoots. We called that before it happened. Why? Well, what they're saying in the news, and it seems to work, is every night that it sells off, there's liquidation of GBTC, the grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So every day this closes on the low, this gaps down. And that's why Bitcoin gaps down. It's fascinating. Almost every day that this closes on the low, on the left, that's 24-hour, but you get the gist. It goes down the next morning on liquidations. So you're looking for bull flags in the good stocks. The good stock is Coinbase because they're not just buying Bitcoin. So then it comes down to just like we talked about gold. And we talked about gold and trend lines. Well, you got the same kind of trend lines with the Coinbase, where you got a bull flag after the first waft down. It's really hard to buy a 254 when it was just 250, but we care about direction, not really price. So once it broke there, yeah, you were on the way up. Now, another way, and a lot of people in the Chart Patterns Mastery do this, when they see Bitcoin stabilize on the left, they'll go and buy a coin versus the low. So they'll actually buy in here. Penn is really good at that in the Chart Patterns Mastery. So when it's going down, they'll buy in here. Now, I don't know about that, but that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is at least buy if it gets over something. Now, I'm not saying there because that's too sharp a rally. But in this zone where it's stabilized, buying versus that. That's another way to do it. That's a little rough, but you can do it that way. I just want to make clear you can do it that way too. So, but if you're going to buy Bitcoin, you got to buy the quality stuff. So just keep that in mind. Now, there's another really interesting thing. Everybody I know says the pure play is MicroStrategy, because MicroStrategy owns a boatload of Bitcoin. But the wild thing about that, and Penn, if you're in here, just correct me if I'm wrong. Sure, this is a pure play because they own a lot of Bitcoin. The problem is their Bitcoin, their valuation of Bitcoin is only about 800. So you're basically sitting there and you're basically sitting in here and you're buying a huge premium, almost double, assuming that the rest of MicroStrategy is worth another $700 a share. Just keep that in mind. That doesn't mean to short it. We've also seen it doesn't mean to short micro and buy Bitcoin because those premiums can go on for a long time. So just keep that in mind. So that's why if I'm going to play to the upside, I'm going to play BITO, which is the ETF. We talked about that this morning. I haven't been here. I had to go to a doctor's appointment again, but about buying it about 29.40. Let's see where it is. Nah, never went up. Well, buying it when this turned. So not 29.40. You're buying it when it turned. See how it got over the ATR trailing stop? Or buying coin, which is the best leveraged one. In fact, when everything turned, these really turned. Amazing. So coin was the one we were looking at a butterfly around 257.5. Why a butterfly? Because the middle strike dies on expiration day. So just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean it's going to work. Just thought I'd show you that. So just keep that in mind. So where else do we go? Well, number one, I wanted to show you that Bitcoin. I wanted to show you what happens if it closes on the low for the day. It's fascinating. I'm telling you, it's worked over and over and over. So it means that usually the next day it opens down. Then we were talking about that line. We were talking about this support at 6,200. See that? And it went almost there. So really interesting. The other thing about whether you play coin or MicroStrategy or MARA is if Bitcoin goes to a new low, and this has also worked, when it goes to a new low, you're looking for what didn't go to a new low. This has worked every single day for weeks, or vice versa. If Bitcoin goes like this and goes to a new high, and something forms a bear flag. It worked in corn on the way down. It worked on the way up. So when this went to a new low at 11 o'clock, this is already forming a bull flag. Holy cow, isn't that amazing? So the whole theory was if this went even lower, heck, that still won't go down. That was the whole theory. So just about relative strength and relative weakness. Now I could go back to Bitcoin on multiple other days when it went to new highs. Now, I'm not saying right there, but that one right here, you see that right there? Right there. And let me get it exactly for you. There, let me, we've done it so many days. I'm trying to find the right one for you. Yeah, it was way back here, but that one worked too, right there. The first thing, if you're going to trade anything to the downside, we lost a little money in NVIDIA today because we didn't wait for that trend line break. So you want where you can connect a lot of lines and then it crosses something. Just keep that in mind. So that's Monday. What happened Monday in Bitcoin? Well, you're going to see the stock did this right there. Tried to go to a new high while this was already going down, and then it just got blasted. In fact, it was actually right there. So when it had that spike, $1,000 spike, this was already forming a bearish pattern, and it worked. So almost every day this is working. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go crazy, but I am telling you that that relative strength and weakness has worked. So I just want to show you that. So just keep that in mind. So energy, we've already missed. I was bullish on energy. Now I don't know. I mean, I like that longer term. So financial, I like Goldman Sachs on a break at 395. So it's already had its move. Now that brings me to another thing. See that? Now, let me just tell you, the ideal, do not think it's easy. Do not think like Goldman Sachs was easy. Oh, yeah, you made 10 points. Because the ideal is for it to break and form a bull flag over the break. So you're going to see that? That wasn't the break. The break was there. It gapped up the next day. It went up 5 points in 5 minutes. The ideal is for it to break and form a bull flag over the break. So this wasn't the easiest thing. I can't tell you how many times it got to here and failed. So yeah, that's a breakaway gap, but that was not easy. By the time you would have bought, you already 408. You're even over 2 days. Now financial longer term. Well, let me just tell you, longer term, I'm watching a lot of consumer names get nailed. I have no idea why these are at all-time highs. So let me just show you what we're talking about. It can be Lulu. I mean, you see what's going on. There are a number of them. Nike, Lulu, but credit card stocks are on their high. This seems really stupid. Maybe it's Home Depot. That's keeping it up. But I'm looking at these on the downside, not the upside. The Visas, the MasterCards, the Capital Ones. So that's what I'm looking for on the downside. Now, Capital One's looking fine. And also, when I look at a Visa, and I might have a theory, it's still not good enough to see one down day. I have to see a trend line break and then a consolidation under it. Just like on the bullish side, I want to see a trend line break on the upside and a consolidation over it. So none of these are giving me a good read. But I will show you something about here. NASDAQ, it's on its high. That's a disappointment, the Russell, especially with bonds up so much. You would think that Russell is interest rate sensitive, that if bonds are up, the Russell would be up. I bet you. Yeah, that's why. The regional banks are down. So you got the regional banks down, even if interest rates are up, yields are down a little. And that's why, to me, if you see Goldman Sachs down and the regionals down and the Russell down, that doesn't mean this can't have a big rally. Yeah, I love these double negatives, but it does mean that the market just might do nothing today. So just keep that in mind. That's the way I'm looking at it. If I'm going to play something end of the day, it's probably going to be Coinbase, MicroStrategy versus Bitcoin. Now, here we go again. Look at Bitcoin on the bottom. It's still doing not much, but this is what we talk about, working off an overbought in a good way. It's working off the overbought by forming a bull flag. If that holds, you're talking about that amount. That gets you back to 65. And I'm telling you right now, the stocks are acting like it's going to break up. When you see some of these like Maras of the world. So I want to play MicroStrategy and Coin this afternoon, and maybe this. I'm not doing it yet. Maybe BITO, but it really doesn't move that much. I would rather play the coins of the world, the quality. So just keep that in mind. So in answer to your question, 007, I just like into April. Well, I'll show you. There are a couple of warning signs, and I'm not sure what the longs I like are yet, because I would have liked the XBI, and the XBI went straight down. Straight down. So if you look at a 4-hour chart of the XBI, not so hot. I would have thought that would lead if bond market stabilized. And they didn't. So I still like the idea of the XBI stocks. In fact, in the chart patterns mastery, the end of the day, well, when I get back on early afternoon, I'm going to look for unusual call activity in healthcare stocks. 90% of takeovers are over the weekend. And a lot of times they telegraph unusual call activity, and I'll look for it. I don't have it yet, but I'll be looking for it just to let you know in there. But the other thing, these are the warning signs. I put this on charts for everyone charts for everyone in our chart patterns mastery. I post charts 3 times a week. Here are the warning signs. That doesn't mean you can't go higher. Just got to make that clear. A lot of times when things get extended, it doesn't mean they can't go higher. I'm going to make this nice and big so you know what I'm talking about. There. Usually when it gets this far from the 50 moving average, the S&P, not the futures. The futures traded a premium. The June futures, they just rolled to June. Usually when they get this far away, it doesn't mean markets have to go down. Just like you see here, it didn't go down. But it rests for a while so the 50 can catch up. So in answer to your question, I'm not that bullish at all into April until this sort of vacillates for a while. So NDC is a 16%. That's about the farthest I've ever seen it away from this. So that's about the farthest. Now, there's another thing in here that I think you'll find interesting. There's your price performance, the S&P in non-election years and election years. And you're going to see, yeah, March is pretty strong. It's been strong. But look at April, non-event. Look at May, down. That's over since 1950. As everybody talks about, oh, election years go up. I beg to differ if you're just going from 1950. September, October, May, they stink. April, not so hot. So look at non-election year. April, up 1.47%. April in an election year, 0.65. So I'm not looking to do swing longs whatsoever until either this calms down, gets back down in here, and I'm looking for, but on the other hand, I don't have the topping patterns yet. So you just don't have them. So even on an hourly, you don't have any kind of topping patterns. You just haven't. You haven't for months. What's a topping pattern? Topping pattern is just like I showed you in Coinbase earlier, when you can connect the lines, at least 3 points of contact, and then a break. But you're going to see, yeah, there's 3, but it gapped down on you. I mean, you see that, and then you look and you're like, yeah, there's no break. So it takes patience. So that's why a lot of people say tops are, take time to form. That's an hourly. So on a daily, I don't know about you, I don't see any top. Now, there are a couple of things to show you. I want to show you where traders make huge mistakes. One of them is talking about rising wedges. I've watched more traders bust out thinking it's a rising wedge and anticipating. This has had rising wedges all the way up. So keep that in mind. Another thing, and this irks me to no end, is how many traders or pundits on internet look at the Bollinger Bands and say, well, it's at the upper Bollinger Band, we have to short it. And I just can't tell you how many people I've seen bust out on because of sustained moves. Oh, it's at the Bollinger Band. Yeah, it kept going for a month. So I wouldn't trust that. What I would trust is if you see an identifiable trend line that can be drawn on some kind of time frame. And I don't see it yet. Now, that being said, I am looking at tops of channels, but I'd like to have more reasons than just the top of a channel. I mean, heck yeah, I see the top of the channel. And I see usually that's cap rallies, no doubt. But you still don't have a real trend line break. So this isn't really a channel. I don't even know what you call that. But even if you did, you would have lost money. How about an hourly? How about a 15-minute? Well, maybe. We were talking earlier about this fill in the gap. Well, it almost did. So there's your channel all the way back. Now, what's that mean to me? It doesn't mean you have to short, but heck yeah. Heck no, am I going to buy up here? Because it's extended on a weekly chart and it's at the top of the channel. That doesn't mean to short. If I'm going to short, it's going to be because of this ultra short term. There, and that's ultra short term. That was the middle of the night. Well, that was actually a 2. That's when we were shorting the SPX yesterday on the defined trend line. Now, hell, yeah, maybe that could be that. But with the Russell down so much, I think the probability is markets going lower or staying here. But as you see, it's just vacillating. So just vacillating for now. So just keep that in mind. So the Dow isn't telling me a thing. So I'm going on the ES and the NASDAQ and the Russell. I don't even have the Dow up here. The problem with the Dow, it's not that many stocks. Now, it is at the top up here and it's down 200, no doubt about it. But this is diverged for days. So right here, yeah, I'll show you when I think it matters. When the Dow matters. A lot of times I look at things versus their 20 moving average, not their 50, when I'm trying to find divergences. There. So you can have it dotted, you can have lines, and I'm telling you right now, I know some use a 21 and some use an EMA. They come out almost the same. So in answer to your question, this is what I'm watching. I'm watching things relative to that moving average on a daily. So if I see the NASDAQ way over it and the ES way over it, but I see that Dow plow under it, which is not. But here it did. And here was a great tell that the NASDAQ and ES were going to sort of waffle, which is what they did. So right now, this isn't telling me anything yet. Yet. It might later, but it's not telling me now. And I'm watching a ton of this stuff. So when the Dow was decisively, the transports under here, it was a great signal. I think today with the Russell down so much, here we go. Is that going to get to here? So if this gets to here, is this more likely to go to here, or is the S&P more likely to go to there? It's just not enough tells yet. So it's a huge warning sign. Don't get me wrong. Huge warning sign. I just don't think it matters yet. And it's a good question. Now, I will tell you that gold's doing what I thought it would do. I don't know why the commitment of traders isn't working the way I'm used to. I went in other ways to look at it, and I can't get it to work. I'm sure it'll work the second I'm not on. I mean, that's just the way it is. We showed it earlier. I should have done a screenshot. So should have it just isn't working. It worked earlier. I don't know what changed. So I will try to figure that out, but it does get emailed to you at 3:35 on Fridays. And like I said, that doesn't mean to buy or sell. I then try to combine it with patterns. Just keep that in mind. Now, getting back to it about the NASDAQ today. Is the Dow going to affect the NASDAQ? Well, the first thing I do in the Dow is I'd see what an hourly chart looks like. So does this look like it's going to have another leg down? Well, I see exactly what you're talking about. This is where it was at the Fed, believe it or not, almost. So it was here at the Fed. That's not that much. So it looks to me like you're going to be right. If that doesn't hold and it goes to here, then you got to think that this is more likely. Well, it's already there. Look at that. So it's all a push. It's all about extremes. If you see that Dow do this, so not here. If you put the Dow next to it, you'll see they're very similar. There. Just look at the time. So this is Thursday right here. End of the day. Here's Thursday. Beginning Wednesday, end of the day. Here's Wednesday, end of the day. They're both there. Now, if you see this go down by that amount and go all the way to here, that's a lot. That's another 200 points. Then this on the right, you're probably right, is more likely to take it all back as well. There, by the way, I had to find it a different way. So you were asking about the commitment of traders. I don't know why it worked this way, but here you go. So as I'm talking to you, I'm looking up this stuff too. All right, so let me show you what we're talking about. Here's commercials. This is last week. Here's gold on the commodity exchange. Long, short. If you just subtract it out, it's like 220, really 218. So you're going to watch that and see the net change, more longs, but even more shorts. If you had it for the week before, you'd see that this was down to like one that really dramatically got short. So I'm just telling you, that's why 335 report's a big deal. So just keep that in mind. Here's a great thing for you. I think it's great, but I'm partial because I'm mentioning it. Here you go. This is February 27th. So what you were saying in there, Noah, this is February 27th. So you see the commercials. So you see the longs 108 in gold, shorts 166. It's only 155. And sure enough, markets went up. So all I did was go to historical. Went to historical. Now look what happened on March 5th. Have to go all the way down, it ends up. Yeah, look at that. 44,000 more shorts. That's why it didn't work. So if you go the week before February, and you go, let's say February 20th, like I said, all we're trying to do is get some kind of edge that we normally don't have. So that's all I'm doing. Yeah, and they got to 155 and the markets went up. So that's pretty cool. I'm so glad I was able to find that for you. Just keep that in mind. Like you see, this is boring, but I think you're right to watch that Dow. Definitely watch the Dow. The other thing that I think is a huge deal, because you mentioned the Dow, is to watch the transports and how much they've sold off after FedEx's earnings this morning. That's a gigantic move, 200 points. So that's also showing you this is more likely to go down. That's a big reversal. So, and you know the regionals are down, you know the Russell's down, and you know the Dow isn't bouncing. So, from my point of view, I'm not buying anything here. Doesn't mean I have to short anything, but I'm not buying anything here. So, I just thought I'd let you know. And by the way, if you ever want to experiment in wild stocks, the MSTRs, the SMCIs, the coins. I'm telling you, it's sort of like some movie stars. You want to have some skin in the game. So go and buy twosies. Go buy two shares. Go buy it in here. Go buy it on the break. Buy 2 shares. If it has a spike, sell one. See how long you can let the other one run. So I'm just telling you that it really, paper trading, you'll make money every time. Go and buy 2 shares. Go and buy it on the break. Stop yourself under the break, either here or down here. That way you're risking all of $4 on a 2 lot. And I'm just telling you, that's a lot of times if you want to learn, you got to have that skin in the game. But you're dead right. If the Dow's going down and the transport started reversing, like you see on the right, and you see the KRE down, why on earth do you think the ES would go up? So good point. Good point. Yeah, I see your point exactly. And it doesn't mean you have to go down. The market's gone, straight up, obviously, but you got the top of the channel. You have it's extended from the 50. But the kicker is how many individual sectors are acting like dirt. You're dead right about that. So, I'm looking at it from this point of view. When do they start filling the gap for now? Keep in mind, Russell's 24 hours, so we should put RUD in there. Okay, when do some of the indexes start filling the gap from the Fed? Well, keep in mind the gap from the Fed is here, not up here. So when would I start getting really bearish? Well, if I see the transports down from their lows on Thursday, maybe. But keep in mind, it's still up. So let's take the Russell. Where was that on Thursday? Now it's under it decisively, way under it. How about we could put DIA? Where is that in relation to Thursday? It's under it. Where's the SPX in relation to Thursday? That hasn't filled the gap. So that's almost filled the gap. That's filled the gap. That's filled the gap. So that's what you're talking about. This is on the YouTube channel. Really good questions. So if these are all filling the gap, when does the SPX really care? I think the SPX really cares if these get way under the gap. That's when I think that the SPX perks its head up, especially the NDX. That's when I think it really matters, which means right now you see what's going on. Nothing's going down. I mean, nothing's going down, and led by NVIDIA. So that's where I am right now. Now, I'll tell you something. I like your idea what you're looking at. Now, you see on what you were talking about, Amir, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I really shouldn't have the Russell. We already know the Russell's down. We should be having the Dow. We should be having the transports. We could put IYT, but I'd rather put the pure transports. I just think those are the ones that traders are watching today. They don't care about the bonds. They care about the transports, the YM, and maybe the regionals. There. And it just seems like if all three of these were refused to bounce, that doesn't mean you have to short the ES, but boy, I'm not going to buy it. So, I mean, that's where I am at the moment. Puts you sort of in purgatory because I really, really want to play it to the downside. I mean, I'd like to. So let's see. I want to look right in here. And what I'm doing now is I want to look for trend lines. So you saw the trend line on the Dow. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the left, let's say the ES. We're going to go put, and on the right, the NASDAQ. On a 15-minute chart, are we seeing any really defined trend lines? Not exactly. Maybe this. Maybe that topping formation. Now, a lot might ask, isn't that a Brecher ledge when you have all that horizontal stuff? This isn't enough of a down move to then have a bearish consolidation, call it a Brecher ledge. So, but I am, you see what's going on here, especially with the NASDAQ, of what do you believe? So, Brecher ledge is basically a bear flag, but the bottom of it is horizontal. So you got to have a sharp prior move down. So I'm not sure that's sharp. But that sure is tempting to play something under the market. But this is where you definitely get psyched out. Do you believe the price action where you see nothing going down? Do you believe the put call ratio that is pretty elevated? You don't know what to rely on until you get a better tell. See this right here? There's your bear flag. Tight little bear flag. This, too sloppy. So that's where we are at the moment. That doesn't mean it'll be like that later, but that's where you are now. And when I see that, so you're like, yeah, there's a lot of divergences, but the price action isn't bad yet. Well, if you're bearish, you look for what's acting the worst and what might have a bear flag now. That way, if the markets rally, it'll probably be the one going up the least. Well, I'd like to say that, but there's support right here. That's what I'm telling you. If I'm talking out loud and trying to trade, none of these are giving me a good tell at the moment. Nothing. So I have up a lot of charts. So down here, I'm starting to have a lot more Bitcoin stuff. So I have a lot of charts. These aren't telling me a darn thing at the moment. No defined patterns. I just don't see them up or down. So I'm not playing them yet. But in answer your question about financials or energy, I just think if the ES is this extended, I just can't do swing longs. I'd rather find something in the healthcare arena, figuring they might go up no matter what. But boy, has that not worked. Remember, we had in the chart patterns mastery, we were long XPI and got out up here. Now, you might say, well, why don't we get back in it? It doesn't have the same pattern like it had here. So I just can't do it yet. So that's where I am. I am really surprised after the big CRISPR news yesterday, where a different company than CRISPR technology transplanted a pig's kidney into a human. First time using CRISPR technology, not theirs. But you would have thought all of these would go nuts, and they didn't. So that's where I am right now of trying to talk out my strategies and not sure what I'm going to do on the close. I think you're right in the YouTube room. Well, just keep in mind that I'm not doing anything yet. I'm going to be scanning for things. But I will tell you, with the dollar going up the last couple of days, I don't see it moving with the stock market. It just hasn't been as reliable. I'll show you. Sure seems like stock market's gone up with the dollar going up. Just keep that in mind. So I don't go on that. So just keep in mind that the dollar's gone straight up since not here, but here right now. So that's why I'm trying to go on other things. So, I mean, that's what I have to do. But I think you're right. The probability is we're going lower, but I don't know if today's the day. From a betting point of view, I'd think that this goes to 52.70. Right in there. It hasn't broken yet. It's going to break probably the second I get off. I mean, typical. And that's where I am right now. As you see, nothing going on. Merck, I don't have enough time now. We're getting off, but no. If I'm buying something now, don't laugh. I know it's hindsight, but I want that kind of developing pattern. I want it over the moving averages. This is getting overbought under them. So no, I don't like Merck. And Lilly, I don't know. To me, that's getting overbought and it's finally under things. So no, I don't like Lilly or Merck. I think they're going to be better ones to do. And I'd basically do them. If I want to do them overnight, I'm going to look for ones that have unusual call activity. So take care. Thanks for being with me, and I will talk to you later.